Hey, good morning to you, Ando. I know it's 6 a.m. for you, correct?
It is. Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good, man. You got me bright and early.
Yeah. So the reason I invited you on is because I saw a win from you in the crypto wins channel. Actually, not just one win, several wins. So could you go over them? What are they about?
Well, you know what? I got to knock on wood real quick so I don't jinx that. Um, the crypto wins room is somewhere where you basically highlight your recent wins or past wins, but most of my wins are recent because um, I joined the real world, I think. Well, at first it was Hustlers University, and then it got converted, right? So I joined like 4 months ago, and I was pretty quiet in there for a little while I was learning things. I had some trading background, but long story short, in the last 30 days, I've taken 14,000, made 52,000 out of it. So that's been my last 30 days, and my winning rate's about 70%. Um, I like to call myself a sniper, so I get in and get out of trades quick. Sometimes I'll end up being a swing trader, but most of the time I pick my positions, I go in, and then I get out. But yeah, it's been really good the last month. I've actually surprised myself a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Congratulations. How
thank you.
did how did that all begin? Did you have prior knowledge, prior crypto trading knowledge, or was it just all learned through the real world?
I've had trading knowledge, but not specifically crypto. I think I went through the phase where everyone would during the last bull run was just buying crypto just to buy it because everyone was doing it, right? And then things faded, and we entered a market that was just the bear market, right? And it's been quiet since, but I knew that I was intrigued about the things I didn't know about and how I have some people in the space that are good friends of mine. Some of them are known figures in the trading space and they do very well. They make, tens of millions of dollars. And I've always wondered like, how can they actually multiply this all the time, right? So I would Google random YouTube videos, learn strategies, patterns, all this other stuff. It was just way beyond my comprehension. So I was like, I need some formal platform where it can run me through the beginning to the very end. And then I can make my way through the different lessons and find more information. And I'll be honest, I was like pleasantly surprised for the amount of money that I pay, how much value I got out of the crypto campus because it is so thorough. And then the community itself is amazing, man. Like they keep you in check, but they make sure that they set boundaries where you're gonna win within. So I had some trading background. I've had some successes, but really everything got amplified when I started listening to the professors at the campuses. They're just I call them wizards because their level of comprehension and process is just something that's I've never seen that before.
Mhm. A few things to go into that. I think I'll begin with going back a bit. How did you find out about the real world?
Um, at first, I got introduced to it through obviously seeing clips of Andrew Tate and the Tate brothers talking about Hustlers University. Um, Listen, I'm of Armenian background, so my culture went through a genocide. We're skeptics about everything, right? Because the last time people told us to trust something, we were walking in a death march and they killed our people. So, um, with
Mhm.
all things, I'm skeptical at first because there's just a lot of fake shit um, in the industry, unfortunately. And I've been in a lot of these a lot of these groups just to sample them, right? So I thought for the price, how could it be? So, but $50 a month, I think is what I pay. I don't even know if it's 50, maybe it's 39. I can't even remember. Um, I decided to take a gamble, and honestly, I'm surprised it's not thousands of dollars a month. I really am because I've been in like coaching group and masterminds. Well, they'll charge you a couple $1,000s a month just for like one or two calls a month. So the fact that it's so little and they provide so much value, it's pretty incredible.
Mhm. What does your average day look like now compared to before you joined the real world?
Um, average average day. Um, well, I like to. think that I'm a man of routine. I like to wake up early in the morning, get my day going. I do have a full-time job, right? I'm a general manager and a partner in a car dealership. So that's been my main gig. But now in the mornings, really, I'm a student of the business of this. I really want to master this, and I know there's probably no mastery. It's just increasing your wins over your losses, and that comes with like refining your strategies. So majority of my mornings and I would say evenings are spent digesting and learning because I I've had a dramatic win rate, but I know that I can get so much better because I see the people in the chat, I see the professors and how they process data, and I just think, wow, like I'm so far from that. And if I can just like take that in and improve myself over time, I can get that much better. So um, it's almost like it's a healthy addiction, I would say. Okay, I wake up and I think about it. I go to sleep, I think about it now. It doesn't deter from all the other things that I do, like going to the gym, working out, all that stuff, spending time with my kids. But it's something that I can see that can lead me to financial freedom in a shorter amount of time than what I've been doing.
Mhm. How many hours would you say you've put into it so far? And have you gone through all the material, or is there still more to go through?
I've gone through majority of the material. I'm not as smart as some of the guys in the room to pass some of the master classes yet, but I'm working towards those. I think mine has to do with probably patience because I'm such an impatient person in nature. But I will finish those. That's really what I have left is the master classes. But I finished all the other material um, as of right now.
Could you briefly explain what the master classes are about?
The classes.
The master classes, yeah.
Oh, the master classes. The master classes are basically they take all the so you start at the very beginning, which is the tutorials, and then you work your way down through that list. There's Scalpers University, Trade Basics, Fundamentals. They basically walk you through every little intricacies that's involved in the space. And then there's two professors, and they each have a master class. And the one that I'm working on right now is the investing master class. And what the master class is essentially it's like the medical exam for crypto. It's like the state bar. It's pretty thorough because the questions and the multiple choice answers are so like the answers are so similar, right? They could all sound like the right answer, but there's only one specific right answer. And that's what they're trying to get to you is to be so critical in your way of processing this data that because you have so little margin of error when you're trading because you're dealing with large amounts of money at times that you should be that thorough in your analysis when you're answering these questions as well. So I don't even know what section. I don't even think I'm halfway through the master class. It's so hard, but it really is one of the most challenging things I've done. I've taken classes at Harvard Business School, and they haven't been as hard as this master class. So it's pretty gnarly.
And for $50, yeah.
For $50,
That's
insane. It almost seems fake. I know from the outside, it does seem like it's just not possible. It is.
mhm. Why do you think that is from your perspective? Why do you think they only charge $50 for all the value they provide?
Listen. The Tate brothers don't need any money. Like they're very well off. I think it's just to is value and give back to the community. Because they know an educated community just adds to society in general. And naturally, these things have gone to school. They don't teach you this stuff in school. They'll teach you basic business strategies and fundamentals and law. But when it comes to actually developing a skill that could give you an ROI, that is not something that you learn in school. And the reason why, I mean, my intuition says is it's purely from a value perspective because $50 is nothing. I mean, listen, relative to for my level of income, it's nothing, right? Like I might spend that on lunch, but so for me to think that I have access to that much data and information and resources, $50 a month is just insane.
Mhm. Right. Now, wrapping back to the community aspect, I know you've mentioned some things already. Is there more you'd have to add on how the community has impacted you, or if it has had any kind of effect?
The community is like that really good friend that's going to call you out on your bullshit. So um, I think of it this way, like anytime you make a point in the community, right? It's encouraged that you back up your thesis. So it's not just like random things that you just throw out there, and hope that something sticks and you get it right. What I love about the community is that every single person, from what I see, at least if it doesn't happen, they get redirected to for that to happen. Is that anytime they have a thought behind doing something, right? It's encouraged and at times almost obliged that you elaborate on that because it's important because you want the other students to understand why you think certain things are going to happen. And my learning style is that, I don't I've never been a guy who just goes to school and then reads the textbook and all of a sudden knows the material. I like to understand why things are happening continuously so then I can actually create patterns in my brain. And that's exactly what the campus does for me in the community is if you have questions, there'll be answers. There's captains that are pretty involved. The professors are incredibly, incredibly smart. There's not a time where I feel like I have a question that can't be answered in there. So, and most of the time it's proactively answered because the professors do a really good job of generating daily analysis of the markets. And so if you've structured certain strategies for trading, let's say, right, you can always go to their analysis and see if you found validation or invalidation. And if there's invalidation, then you can go back to your strategy and try to adjust. So it's a beautiful way of making sure that you're not just like going off the path. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's checks and balances, and it creates boundaries and structure for you to be able to be successful.
Sure. I like your answer. Now, moving on to what was your biggest mistake when you actually, I'll rephrase that. What was your biggest challenge when you first started out in the crypto campus?
My mistake might be the same as most people's mistake. I just thought that if I use high leverage trading, I could come up sooner, And granted, I did do it for a small amount of time, which was good. So my losses were minimized. But what I learned was that really gains have to be slow and steady, and slow and steady with large capital is still large sums of money, right? Slow and steady with small amount of capital, it's a little bit slower. So you can get impatient when you see people making tens of thousands of dollars, right? Mm-hmm. But it's still the same concept. It's daily ROI and it multiplies over time. So you shouldn't really rush the process. In the beginning, I was just trying to rush it because I was trying to come up so much faster and I was trying to catch up to people, but I didn't have the knowledge. Now I have more knowledge and I'm becoming more successful, but I still have a long way to go. And what I've learned is high leverage trading is every time you tick that box to the right, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then up to 100. Some platforms, they'll do 200, right? Your level of skill has to go up every time you tick that, because the greater the risk, the greater the chance of you losing that money if you get it wrong. So that was a painful lesson. I lost some money in that. And I honestly, I'm grateful that I lost it because it taught me to be a little bit more disciplined and patient with it.
Interesting. And now on the opposite end, what would you say have been the 3 biggest lessons you've learned from your time in the real world? Doesn't have to be crypto related, just overall.
The biggest lesson that I've learned is that I can actually pick this up in a short amount of time. Like I've surprised myself at how fast I can learn the structure of trading. I mean, really, I had some knowledge in the past, right? But in the last 4 months, that it's times 50. So to me, the amount of time for you to actually get to a point where you can actually start making a good return on your investment is short. Like majority of the times, if you go to school, you have to go to school 2 to 4 years, maybe. And then if you go to graduate school after that, it's more time in school, right? And then you get a job and hopefully you make this amount of money. I legitimately think, and I have this like lofty goal, so I'm just going to throw it out there, but I have a goal to take that because I did 14 to 52,000. I have a goal to make 52,000 to a million by the end of the year. And I know I can do it. I just need to stay diligent with the plan and the strategies and humble myself and not get greedy. And I think as long as I win more than I lose, I'm naturally going to get there. So my first lesson, my first biggest lesson is that you can learn this material in a short amount of time if you have dedication, and you can get ahead faster. Second thing is the amount of knowledge and information in the campus. I don't know if I'll ever truly fully fulfill that because there's just so much, which is actually very beautiful because I never feel like I'm going to max out my abilities in the campus because the markets are ever changing and the structure changes. And to have professors and people and captains and even community members that are very skilled and they're constantly on the up and up, it's like that information constantly materializes and evolves. And you kind of, it's hard to fall behind if you're constantly involved, you know? Mm-hmm. And number three, there's other campuses in there I haven't even discovered. like I'm only in one right now. I don't know if I have the time for the other ones, but I've seen the wins in the other campuses, and I think, wow, like if I spent this much time and I had a decent amount of success in the crypto space, if I spent, let's just say, the same amount in the other spaces, then there's three other spaces, right? Like my ROI could be substantially higher, right? So I think it's incredible to know that I have even more that I can tap into that I haven't already.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
I just listening to that is crazy for $50. Yes, so much.
It's madness. It honestly, it really does sound fake, but it's not.
Yeah. What impact has Tate had on you, if any?
Listen, that's a great question. So the Tate brothers are very controversial, right? We can agree on that. But I like to focus on the things that I see that are positive in people first before negativity. And the reason I say that is because we all have our cons. We all have our things that we don't even like about ourselves, right? And let alone expecting other people to understand us and as to why we are the way we are, right? So my focus on the Tate brothers has been on the personal development of man in general. I try to blank out all the other distractions on the other end because there are things that I don't agree with, but it doesn't make me dislike a person because there are things that I don't agree with them on. That's the part of being a human because we're individually so different at times. But when it comes to philosophical similarities about coming up in life, I agree a lot with the Tate brothers. You know, I'm an immigrant. I come from nothing, you know. Most of my life, we lived in below poverty line, you know, and so I understand what it means to not have a place to sleep, to not have food to eat. Like, I understand that very well. And I knew that wasn't going to change until I improved myself. And so I committed myself to personal excellence in everything that I do, whether it's the gym, whether it's to no drinking or smoking, whether it's I'm flipping burgers, I'm going to be the best burger flipper, I'm the best fry cook, right? Like I knew that no matter where I was in life, the pain was temporary and that it was just a means to get to the next stage of my life. And as long as I could look back and I know that I did an excellent job and I had a commitment to personal excellence, I knew I was on the right track. And I think the Tate brothers, that's exactly what they talk about, is being committed to excellence and commitment to the mundane and the things that nobody else wants to do. Because the truth of the matter is mastery is just mastery of the boring, right? Like I don't like going to the gym. I don't like going to sweat and run and push myself. I don't think anybody truly likes that, but we know we have to do it. It's part of the greater plan of improvement. Like, do you think I want to go through the crypto campus and suffer every single day going through that masterclass and getting the answers wrong? I don't, but I know it's mandatory. You know, I don't have a choice. So I've always told myself that success is my obligation. I don't have any other choice. That also means that I have to be relentless in my pursuit of that. I can't negotiate with myself when it comes to certain things that I know help me get better. And I think that's exactly what the Tate brothers stand for. And I appreciate that because I think that's an important not only point but movement for men in general. Um, I think the root of most of the issues in the world are, you know, because of men. I do blame men for a lot of the problems in society, because I think if they were stronger and they had a willingness to be better and to be more successful and committed to personal excellence, I think we would live in a much better world. So I try to hold myself to that high standard, especially since I'm a father of two as well. I know that my kids look up to me, so I don't have room for errors. And if I make an error, I have to correct that really fast. I have to pivot. And I like that. I like that the Tate brothers stand for that. That it's almost like, if you want a certain life, then you have to pay the price that not a lot of people are willing to pay for. And I know that I'm willing to pay for that price, because to me, I get a kick out of it. I don't know. I like doing the stuff that people can't do or think that they can't do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're very, very admirable listening to you.
Thank you.
Since you're on this trajectory, where do you see your life heading in 6 months to 1 year? I know you mentioned you have a goal of meeting 1 million by the end of the year. Is there more that you'd have to add?
Um, let's say 6 months to a year. Let's say a year, right? Because the year just began. Um, I have a 5-year plan for myself. I'll be 35 years old in a couple months. So I have this plan for 40 years old. I bought a bunch of land in a few states. I want to build a ranch. I want to be a little bit off the grid because I love nature. I love spending my time in the outdoors. I'm a fly fisher, shooter, hunter type of guy. So I do all that. Um, I I want to have a beach house. And I don't want to be working in a 9 to 5 type role anymore. Not that it's frowned upon or any of that stuff. It's not, because it's helped me come up in life. So I'm very grateful for that. But I just know that it's always that temporary pain that's going to lead me to the point where I don't have to do that. So now that I see that that money is just an exchange, it's just who has the money, and who is it going from, and to who is it going to, right? When you come to that understanding, then you realize that money is in abundance, and the scarcity goes out the window. Then you realize that you can pretty much make money from my living room, and it's a pretty amazing thought that I never had 3-4 years ago. I always thought that, hey, I have to come up in this company and maybe open my own business, all that stuff, which is fine. You can do that too. But now that I see that it's possible to do things differently, I see myself probably never retiring, because I don't really believe in that. I think a man needs to always have a purpose and a why. And so you have to be diligent about always, keeping your mind sharp and working towards some kind of a goal. But yeah, ranch, beach house. I want to have the freedom to be able to travel with my children whenever I want, to go to places. My commitment to being a father was to never miss any of their extracurricular events, and I haven't. I've always prioritized them, because I think ultimately the ultimate win and success of a man is how their kids feel about them when they get older. If they want to hang out with you and if they like you as a person, I think it's something that I really am working towards, and hoping that my kids actually love having me as a dad. So, and that means that I have to prioritize financial things to improve their life, but I also can't be missing important times in their life, as they grow up. So, this gives me just the opportunity to snap out of the hamster wheel in a shorter amount of time, so I can be more present and less worried about things. And so that's that. I mean, in 5 years, really, it's just the personal freedom to be anywhere, wherever I want, because I think that's what money buys you, is the ability to buy back your time.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And before we end off, what advice would you have to people who are considering joining the real world?
Listen, I'm like I told you guys in the beginning. I told you, like, I'm a big skeptic about everything. So when the government tells me to do something, I say, nope, not doing it. Why are you asking me to do something, right? If you ask me to pay for some kind of a service, I'll say, well, why are you asking me to pay for the service? Why don't you just give it to me for free? Right. So everything in life, I approach with skepticism at first because you trust, but you have to verify, right? Like I can trust that your intent's right, but then I have to verify for myself. So um, listen, I had to take the plunge. I think is it $50 a month? I can't remember. I signed up like 4 months ago. Yeah, 50
Yeah.
bucks a month. Um, when I joined, I thought it was going to be some bullshit Discord group where it was a bunch of people that just made calls, right? Like they would just tell you, like, do this and do that. Boy, is it different. There's nobody telling you what to do. What they do is they teach you everything you need to know so you can think for yourself. And that is the beauty about the real world. I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be where I join and then people are going to be like, oh, make this call or do this and do that, right? It's the opposite. They teach you how to think. So then you don't need them. I could close the real world right now and I could still be a successful trader, right? But I won't ever do it because the amount of resources and information that I have and feedback that allows me to constantly grow is like almost having your university professor at your access at all times for 50 bucks a month. And I think almost anybody would do that if they could, you know. It's like having, if you have a business mentor, let's say that you have somebody who's making multi-million dollars and you're trying to model your life after them because they're successful and you want to replicate their life. And they said, you know what, just pay me 50 bucks a month and you can have access to me at all times. I don't think there's a human being that would say no.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the real world, the fact that they teach you how to think for yourself is probably the most important aspect of this because you're not dependent on it. You develop your own way of thinking and create your own strategies, and then you can just always like validate or invalidate yourself based on what other people are doing and the professors are doing in the industry as well. Because these are people who are actually in the space live right now, not talking about things that they did 25 years ago. So it's the highest ROI place you can be in. I'll be honest. And I've been in certain groups that are thousands of dollars a month.
Mm-hmm. And it's the opposite of the schooling system because, as you're saying, it teaches you to think for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it does. And I like that. It's at first it's kind of irritating. It's like, how could you not be telling me what to do? I just paid all this money and I should know exactly what to do right now. But that's the beauty of it, is because they want to challenge you. They want you to actually learn this stuff. And these classes, I'm not lying, this master class, it really is like the bar exam. I've never taken the bar exam, but I'm comparing it because it's that hard.
All right. I look forward to doing a follow-up interview in, let's say, 6 months, something like that, to see how things have progressed for you. For people who want to find out more or contact you, what can they do so?
I'm mostly active. I'm a mostly active reader on Twitter, but I'm mostly active on Instagram. You can find me at ando.niko, ando.niko. That's on Instagram. So I'm mostly active on there. I typically don't share too much of my business life. It's mostly my personal, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me recently, and I'm grateful to help people if they need advice. But what I've learned is that I will never tell people what to do. I'll just direct them in a certain direction so they can learn from this for themselves, and then they can actually take credit for all the success that they're having.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
A very interesting interview. Really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you for this, Ando.
Absolutely. Thank you.